What's up everyone, Soul here with another sort of Convallaria video, and today we'll be discussing staffs and how I feel they affect the game and can contribute to your gameplay. And I'll be doing that through a tier list in which I'll be breaking things down by 3 categories: accessibility, viability, and utility. With those 3 things taken into consideration, I'll put them into a tier list and give you my opinion on what they can do and how they should be used with their values. This is not fact, this is just my opinion, and so if you dislike, or want to even debate anything, just drop down the comments and let's get right into it. I'm gonna be more than happy to have those conversations. Without any further ado, let's get right into it. First up is the Cornucopia staff. This is a legendary item at 5 stars. If your character is healthy, there's an 80% chance to get 2 energy back. And if the character is dying, there's an 80% chance to get 30% HP back with a 2-turn cooldown. Now, this is a very powerful staff. Everybody wants energy. Mages use a lot of energy in their spells, and so to be able to get the extra energy back is huge. However, this is paid content. It's not easy to get. You're limited to 1 possibly per month from the pass, and that is only 1 star per pool. And so it's not easy to get. It's impossible to get for free-to-play players, meaning it loses a lot of its value, and it doesn't do a lot for the everyday player. With that in mind, I don't think it has a tremendous amount of utility to the everyday player, and it takes a long time to ramp up. So I would rank it tier 1. Next up is the Diffusing prism. This is a legendary item at 5 stars. It increases your magic attack by 10%, and upon casting an AoE attack, for each 1 target hit, it increases your magical damage and piercing damage dealt by 10% up to 20%. Now, this is a fantastic item if you're doing AoE damage. However, if you're not using AoE damage, you're only getting that flat magic attack up. It also needs to be said that at 1 star or even 2 star, it really isn't that great. It's not only really that good until you get it up to about 3, 4, and 5 stars especially. The resentment broom at 1 star is better than the prism staff at 1 star, and so I would urge you to use that if this weapon's not starred up past 1 or 2. Another thing to take into consideration is that flat magic attack damage. That's the only benefit you get if it's not an AoE attack. It has to be said and repeated. It has to be acknowledged. So that makes it pretty niche in its use and utility. For that reason, I would rank this staff tier 1. Next up is the explosive crystal. This is an epic item at 5 stars. It increases your AoE damage by 15%. It doesn't affect single target damage. It doesn't give you magic attack up flat. It only affects AoE damage and increases its damage outright. With that said, this item does not compare to the Diffusing prism or the resentment broom once you have those items, and once especially you get those items leveled up. Now, albeit this is accessible and it's great to use as a starter and a starting point, eventually your account's going to get those other items and get them built up, and this will be replaced down the line. And for that reason, I would rank this item tier 3. Next up is the Focus Wand. And so this is a legendary item that at 5 stars, when unharmed, it increases your maximum range by 1 tile. And it increases your magic attack by 15% when launching a single target attack. This is a phenomenal item. Even at 1 star, you're getting that boost to your range by 1 tile as long as your mages remain unharmed. You don't want them getting harmed anyways. And so for most of your characters that can use a wand, this is a no-brainer, especially your Hasna, especially your Momo. Honorable mentions there. And so this item for me is one of my favorites. I love to have that extra range. It has tremendous utility for that reason. Now, to not get extra magic attack damage on AoE abilities is unfortunate, but I think that what it does do is powerful enough to offset that, and it doesn't require you to 5-star it to really become good. And so for me, I would rank this item tier 0. Next up is the Gazing Orb. This is an epic item that at 5 stars increases your damage by 15% when you're performing a single target attack. This is the counterpart to the explosive crystal in that it does the same thing. It also doesn't give magic attack bonus in itself, and it is quickly replaced by a legendary item once you get access to them. Nothing wrong with using this as a starting point, building it up a little bit and taking it forward as your account grows and builds. However, you will find later down the line that you will not be using this item and it will be replaced by other items. Or maybe you will use it, but it still gets replaced by other items. With that said, for me, I would rank this item tier 3. Next, we're going to talk about the ink totem. This is an epic item that at 5 stars, your healing effect is increased by 10%. This is a phenomenal item for healers, and it's also easy to access and it's easy to 5-star. Moreover, this item has staying power. It is not replaced by any other items with the exception of the Reorganized cube, which is not easily accessed, and it isn't quickly replaced even when you have the cube. The cube requires several levels before it really overtakes this item in power and utility, in my opinion. And so for that reason, I think this item is exceptional. It's very powerful and it's fantastic. I would rank it tier 1. Next, we're going to talk about the item we just mentioned, and that is the Reorganized cube. This is a legendary item that at 5 stars increases your healing effectiveness by 15%. When using a skill on an ally, it additionally dispels 1 debuff. Now, even at 1 star, it dispels that debuff, which makes it arguably a very good item and could arguably replace the ink totem. Regardless of that, I think at 1 star, that 3% healing effectiveness does not make it as good as the ink totem in certain settings and situations, and so I don't necessarily value it over it until it gets up to about 3 stars. Then it's just a no-brainer. Not every fight requires you to remove those debuffs, and so for that reason, I feel that way about it. With that said, once it's 5 star and you get it up there and you work on it, it outright and absolutely in stats and utility and all purposes, it replaces the ink totem. And so for that reason, I would rank this tier 0.5. Next up is the Resentment Broom. This is a legendary item that at 5 stars increases your AoE damage by 15%. After dealing damage with an active attack, there's a 50% chance to inflict life loss equal to 20% magic attack on the target for 1 turn. And so we talked about this item earlier. We're discussing the Diffusing prism. This item is more powerful in my opinion at 1 and 2 stars than the Diffusing prism, but I think it gets replaced by it after that point without considering the life loss. However, if you're targeting the life loss, it's only coming in at 50% at 5 stars. So unless this item is maxed out at 5 stars, you're not likely to proc it as often as you might like. And so that's a pretty big hit and a reason not to really use it to target that specific purpose. With that said, it's not incredibly accessible. It's not incredibly easy to 5-star, and it gets replaced by Diffusing prism in my opinion at 5 stars anyways. And so I would rank this item tier 2. Next up on the chopping block is going to be the Skeleton Staff. And so this is a legendary item at 5 stars. It increases your HP by 10%. It recovers 1 energy when an ally is defeated in battle. This effect can be triggered 1 time per round. Really unfortunate that this item can only be triggered 1 time per round, because if that were not the case, this item could easily be broken on any mage that's a part of a team that has summons and or units that have summon abilities. Even still, only once per round, it's still pretty nice and beneficial for that reason. However, it's pretty niche. Increases your HP instead of your magic attacks, a little bit of a loss. Also, it has to be taken note of that. With that said, it's not necessarily easy to 5-star, but you don't have to 5-star it because it's doing its core mechanic even at 1 star. With all of that taken into consideration, the fact that it's niche, it doesn't require a 5-star, and so on and so forth, I would rank this item tier 2. Last on the list, and certainly not least, is the Starry Sky Heritage. And so this is a legendary item. At 5 stars, it increases your HP by 10%, and then grants bonus magic attack equal to 6% of your HP at the start of battle. This is a phenomenal staff that is your general use or general purpose staff. It can go on anyone at any time and has a lot of utility because it's giving you that HP, and it's also giving you that magic attack based on your HP. Super duper phenomenal. This item right here doesn't require heavy investment to be useful. As you can see, it scales off of your HP of that magical attack, and it already comes in even at 1 star at 3% of that HP. With a max of 6%, it's not a huge difference. And then also it increases your max HP by 5% with a maximum at 5 stars of 10%. Not a huge difference yet again. And so it doesn't require heavy investment to be useful. This staff is phenomenal. Can't say it enough. And so anytime you have somebody that needs a staff and you're not sure what to put on them, this is your fallback. This is easily a perfect item to put on them, and it'll always do a job regardless of the circumstance and situation. With that all said, for me, I would rank this item tier 0. That's my tier list for staffs. There are no tier 4 or tier 5. Staffs are very powerful, very good, and they're very well made. All of them having lots of utility, and none of them really lacking any purpose at any given point. There is a rare staff. I wouldn't suggest using it unless you just absolutely have to, and then replace it as soon as possible. It is not worth investing in my opinion. With that all taken in, and with that all thrown in there, let me know what you think. Put it down in the comments. Let's talk about it. If you agree, disagree, you name it. You know me, I like to hear from you. Let's debate it, so that we can all have a better understanding of the game and utilize these items more effectively amongst ourselves and together. With that all said, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate everyone. Please drop me a like and subscribe. Thank you so much. Take it easy. Catch you next time. Bye.